My mom said, "I'm so lucky to have a doctor, a consultant, and someone to bring pizza." Everyone laughed. Not one of them knew I paid their mortgages, loans, and bills for years. So I stood up, walked out, and canceled everything. The next day, my brother goes, "Yo, did the mortgage bounce?" I didn't answer. The last thing I expected that night was to leave the restaurant feeling like I'd been sucker punched by my own mother. My name's Jack. I'm 36. I live in Sacramento, and I deliver pizza for a living. Not exactly glamorous, I know, but there's more to it than that, even if no one in my family seems to care. It was Mom's 60th birthday, and I had been planning it for weeks. We booked a fancy restaurant downtown, cloth napkins, a wine list with prices that made my eyes water, the whole 9 yards. I even went out of my way to buy her something special, a restored vintage record player that looked just like the one she had back in the 80s. I knew she'd love it. I got there early to help the staff with the setup, arranged the gift table, did a sound check on the Bluetooth system, which took way longer than it should have, and even helped carry in a last-minute cake my aunt dropped off. Around 6, the family started showing up. My brother Mike strolled in first with his wife and 2 kids, all decked out like they were about to walk a red carpet. Chris came solo, as usual, already 3 beers deep from the sound of his voice. Then Aunt Stella arrived, which surprised everyone. She usually finds a reason to skip family things, but not tonight. The dinner started off light, small talk, inside jokes, everyone pretending we weren't all harboring years of quiet resentment. Then the speeches began. Dad stood up first, cleared his throat like he was giving a TED talk, and made some awkward toast about 60 years of putting up with us. Everyone laughed. Then he looked at me and said, "And of course, Jack's here." He delivered himself, fresh from work. Cue the chuckles. Nothing too harsh. Just that kind of subtle dig I've learned to smile through. But it didn't stop there. When it was Mom's turn, she stood up, looked around with that proud little smile, and said, "I'm so lucky to have a doctor, a business consultant, and, well, someone to bring the pizza when we're hungry." Everyone laughed. Out loud. I didn't. I sat there, staring at the silverware, my face burning. They had no idea I'd been the one paying off Mom's credit card for the last year. No idea that record player had taken half my savings. No clue that I'd been quietly helping keep the lights on for multiple people at that table. So I stood up, quietly, no scene. I just walked out, and not one person followed. The next morning, I sat on the edge of my bed, fully dressed, but with nowhere to go. I hadn't slept much, too busy replaying every laugh, every dismissive glance from the night before. It wasn't just about the record player or the pizza jokes. It was everything. Years of it. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account, not to check my balance. I knew it was low, but to look at all the automatic payments I'd set up over the years. The mortgage transfer to Mike's emergency account, still active. I'd been helping him cover a second mortgage for a house he couldn't afford on a consultant's salary. The student loan payment I'd been making for Chris, still coming out every month, even though he claimed he'd already settled that mess. And then there was the $200 utility transfer I'd been sending to Mom and Dad's account every month since last winter, quietly, anonymously, because they refused to take charity. I wasn't doing it for recognition. Not at first. I just didn't want anyone to feel like they owed me. I figured if they didn't know I was helping, they wouldn't have to carry the guilt of not paying me back. I thought I was being noble. Thought I was building goodwill in a family that just needed a little support to get through hard times. But last night made one thing crystal clear. They didn't see it that way. They didn't see me at all. So I started shutting it down. One by one. I clicked through each recurring payment and hit cancel. The mortgage transfer, gone. The student loan contribution, ended. The utility top-up, terminated. I even removed myself from the joint Costco membership I had been footing the bill for. It felt cold at first, like I was turning off life support. But then something shifted. It felt good. By noon, I was getting the first signs that the machine I'd been fueling all these years was breaking down. Chris texted, "Hey bro, weird cue. Did my student loan payment bounce?" Says declined. Then Mike, "You moved that mortgage deposit? Just got a late alert. Let me know if you need more time." More time. Like he was doing me the favor. I didn't respond. I spent the rest of the day ignoring calls and rereading old emails that started with "just this once, and we'll pay you back soon." I'd kept them all. I guess some part of me had been waiting for this moment. That night, I unplugged my phone and lay in bed listening to the quiet hum of the ceiling fan. No notifications, no bank alerts, no one asking for anything. For the first time in years, it was just me. And I didn't feel guilty at all. By the second day, the silence was gone, replaced with a steady stream of calls, texts, and voicemails that just wouldn't stop. I didn't answer any of them. At first it was subtle. "Hey Jack, could you give me a call when you get this? Quick question about the transfer this month." Probably a bank error, but it's saying the payment didn't go through. Then it got louder. Chris called 5 times in one afternoon. When I didn't pick up, he left a message. "Dude, I don't know what's going on, but the mortgage company called me this morning. If we don't make a payment by Friday, they're starting foreclosure proceedings. If this is some kind of mistake, fix it. If it's not, then I don't even know what to say." His voice had that edge. The kind people get when they're scared but too proud to admit it. Still, I didn't call him back. That evening, Dad called. I let it go to voicemail, same as always. But this one was different. Jack, your mother's worried. We don't know what's going on with you, but you've gone dark and frankly, it's concerning. Maybe you need a break or some time to yourself, but shutting us out like this, it's not healthy. I know things were a little awkward the other night, but don't let it eat at you. You're loved, okay? I stared at the phone, letting his words hang in the air. He didn't know. None of them did. They thought I was sulking, maybe having some kind of emotional breakdown. They had no idea I was the reason their lights were on, that I'd been floating their lives for years, and now that I stopped, the floor was crumbling beneath them. Aunt Stella texted me that night, which was a first. She wrote, I don't know what's happening, but everyone's in a panic. I've stayed out of the family drama for years, but I can't ignore it when your mom calls me in tears. Can you at least let them know you're okay? I didn't respond to her either, because I was okay. I was calm. For once, I was watching them scramble without lifting a finger, and I realized something. For all their pride, their degrees, their big titles and louder voices, without me, they were nothing but a house of cards. And the wind had finally started to blow. It was a Thursday evening, just after 7. The dinner rush had finally started to die down at Sal's Pizza, and I was behind the counter folding boxes when I saw them through the window, Chris and Dad, both of them standing outside the glass doors, wearing their "we need to talk" faces. I didn't flinch, just kept folding boxes while the chime over the door rang as they walked in. Chris was the first to speak. Seriously? This is where you've been hiding? I didn't look up. Not hiding. Working. Dad stepped forward, trying his best to sound measured. Jack, we need to talk. In private. I shrugged. You can talk here. Customers are gone. Chris scoffed. You think this is funny? Our mortgage is in default. Mom's credit card got declined at the pharmacy. Mike's losing it. What the hell is going on? I finally looked up and met his eyes. You'll have to talk to your bank or your financial advisor. I'm just the pizza guy, remember? Chris blinked, caught off guard. Come on, man. Don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I said, wiping my hands with a towel. That's the point. Dad sighed. Jack, listen. We know you've been helping, in some ways. Quietly. Your mother didn't know. I didn't know. But that doesn't mean you get to pull the rug out without warning. I gave a dry laugh. So now I owe you warning before I stop being your secret wallet? Chris stepped in again, angrier now. You're punishing us for a joke at dinner? For something stupid, Mom said. Seriously? I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. This isn't about one dinner. This is about years. Years of pretending I didn't matter. Of taking my money while talking down to me like I'm the family embarrassment. Dad's voice dropped. We didn't mean it that way. You never do, I said. But you still say it. Every time. Chris looked like he was about to say something, but I cut him off. Look, you want answers? Fine. I stopped paying. That's it. No more mortgage deposits. No more surprise transfers. No more anonymous utility payments. You're all adults. Figure it out. Chris's face twisted. You're unbelievable. No, I said calmly, reaching for another stack of boxes. I'm finally honest. They both stood there, unsure what to say. For once, I had the upper hand, and they knew it. You should probably leave, I added, not looking at them. I've got deliveries going out. Chris muttered something under his breath and stormed out. Dad followed, slower, glancing back like he wanted to say something else, but he didn't. The door shut behind them, and I went back to folding boxes, smiling to myself. That weekend, I took a long drive out to Folsom Lake, just to clear my head. I parked near the overlook and sat on the hood of my car with a lukewarm cup of gas station coffee, watching the water. I couldn't stop thinking about the look on Chris's face back at the pizza place. Not the anger. I'd seen that 1,000 times. It was the confusion that stuck with me, like he truly didn't understand why I had pulled the plug, like I was the crazy one. I replayed old memories like a highlight reel. I remembered being 19, fresh out of community college, telling my parents I wanted to open a mobile tire service. My mom laughed. Dad asked if I'd applied anywhere real. I built the thing anyway. Years later, when I tried to expand into full-service repair, I asked Chris if he wanted to invest. He said he didn't have the money, then dropped $5,000 on golf clubs a week later. Even when my online scheduling app started taking off, something I coded myself, nobody batted an eye. When I got my first corporate fleet contract, I told Mike at dinner. He nodded and said, cool. You still doing deliveries, though? I could have screamed, but I didn't. I just swallowed it. That was the pattern. Every win I had was ignored. Every time I offered to help, they accepted it without thanks, like it was expected. Back at the shop, Raj could tell something was off. You good? He asked, leaning on the break room fridge. I nodded, just thinking. You know, he said, cracking open a soda. Eventually they're going to figure out who's been paying the bills all these years. Maybe, I said, but I'm not sure it matters. Raj tilted his head. You don't want them to know? I shrugged. I used to think if they saw it, all of it, they'd finally respect me. But now, I'm not so sure they deserve to know. He took a sip. You gonna keep quiet forever? I didn't answer right away, because I wasn't sure anymore. Maybe I was done playing the ghost. Maybe it was time to show them exactly who they'd been leaning on, and just how far they were about to fall. It started with a text from my nephew, Ethan. He was 16, a quiet kid, smarter than he let on. Ethan, hey Uncle Jack, I don't know what's going on, but Dad's been freaking out. If you're okay, can you let me know? Also, were you the one helping with the house bills? I stared at the message for a long time. No one else had even come close to putting the pieces together. But Ethan, he had always been observant. I didn't respond right away. Later that night, the knock came at my apartment door. Not Chris, not Dad. This time it was the whole crew. Mike, his wife Jenna, their kids, including Ethan, Mom, Dad, even Aunt Stella. The only one missing was Chris, probably too proud to show his face again. They stood in my living room like they'd just wandered into enemy territory. Everyone looked tired. Mom's eyes were puffy. Dad held his hat in his hands like he wasn't sure what to do with himself. I stayed standing. No point making this feel cozy. Mom stepped forward first. Jack, sweetheart, we're worried. This has gone far enough, don't you think? Gone far enough? I repeated. You mean me stopping the silent funding of your lives? Jenna shifted uncomfortably. Mike cleared his throat. Look, man, I don't know what's happening, but the whole family is falling apart. The bank's calling. Bills are piling up. You've made your point. I didn't do this to make a point, I said. I did this because I'm done being invisible. Aunt Stella spoke next. We didn't know, Jack, about the money, about what you've been doing. We should have. You should have noticed, I interrupted. You should have asked questions when bills got paid that no one could afford. But you didn't. You all just let it happen. Dad finally spoke. You could have come to us, son. I did, I said quietly. You just didn't hear me. Mike stepped forward. So what now? You want us to beg? No, I said. I want you to listen. The room went quiet. I'll help again, but only on my terms. No more secrets. No more assumptions. If you want support, there'll be repayment schedules, transparency, professional help with your finances. And one more thing. They all looked at me. You start treating me like an equal, like a man, like someone who's built something real. Because if not, you're on your own. Ethan, standing behind his dad, looked up at me. I believe you, he said, and I think what you built is cool. I want to learn how you did it. That was the only thing that made me smile that night. Maybe someone finally saw me, even if it wasn't the one I expected. A week later, I sent out the group text. Me, if you're serious about having a conversation, meet me Tuesday at 5 p.m. Here's the address. The address wasn't my apartment. It was my office. They didn't even know I had one. It was a clean, modern space tucked above my garage downtown. Exposed brick, big windows, dual monitors glowing behind a sleek glass desk. I had moved my software operations there a year ago. The payment platform I'd built for small auto shops had taken off quietly, with clients in 4 states. I never told my family, never saw the point. But now, they were about to find out. At 5 sharp, they filed in. Mom, Dad, Mike and Jenna, Aunt Stella, and, trailing behind, Ethan. Everyone stood awkwardly in the middle of the room, unsure what they were even looking at. This is where I work, I said, gesturing around. Not just the pizza place, not just the garage. This. Dad's eyes scanned the setup. You do all this yourself? I nodded. Built the backend myself. My software helps independent shops process payments, manage schedules, and handle taxes. We processed over $2 million last quarter. The room went still. Jenna blinked. Wait, so you're not just delivering pizza? I let that hang there. I started delivering pizzas at night to fund the development before investors came in. Kept doing it because it keeps me grounded. Mike rubbed his jaw. You've been helping all of us this whole time, and we didn't even know. No, I said. You didn't care to know. I walked to my desk and opened a drawer, pulling out a manila folder. Inside are itemized summaries of every payment I've made for this family over the past 8 years. Mortgages, utilities, school fees, credit cards. There's also a financial assistance proposal I drafted if you want to move forward. Dad took the folder, flipped a few pages. His face went pale. This can't be right. You paid off Mom's car loan, and Mike's back taxes, Chris's student loans. Quietly, because I thought it would keep the peace. Mom sat down on the edge of a leather chair, her hands shaking. Why didn't you ever tell us? I crossed my arms. Because I didn't want to be a hero. I just wanted to be part of the family. The silence that followed felt heavy. It wasn't just guilt anymore. It was realization. Mike looked up from the folder. What's the plan? I met his eyes. You want help? We do it right. Repayment plans. Budget meetings. No more secrets. Chris wasn't there, but I had emailed him the same proposal. Dad closed the folder and nodded slowly. I was wrong about you. I know. And just when I thought the moment couldn't shift anymore, Ethan stepped forward. Can I intern here? He asked quietly. I want to learn how you built this. I want to build something too. That was the moment I realized something had changed. Not everything, but maybe enough. That night, after everyone left the office, I sat alone by the window with the city lights blinking in the distance. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, but earned, like I had finally come up for air after holding my breath for years. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel bitter. I just felt clear. Earlier that day, before they left, Dad stayed behind a minute while the others filed out. He looked around the room again, like he was trying to memorize it. You know, he said, I always thought you were just floating by, delivering pizzas, fixing cars. I didn't see the full picture. I didn't say anything, just waited. He looked at me, a little unsteady, like he was about to say something he wasn't used to saying. I'm proud of you, Jack. It hit me harder than I expected. Maybe because I never thought I'd hear it. Or maybe because, deep down, I stopped needing it a long time ago. Thanks, I said, but my voice was distant. I didn't lean into it, didn't let him off the hook, because pride after years of silence wasn't a fix. It was just late. A few days later, I got a text from the family group thread, the one I'd muted for years. Mom, we've reviewed the proposal. We agree to your terms. Let's meet next week and make a plan. Love you. There was no fake sweetness, no manipulation, just a sentence that sounded, for once, like respect. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. Ethan texted me separately that night. Ethan, can I start next week? I watched a YouTube video on payment APIs, but didn't understand half of it. I smiled and replied, me. Next Monday. Be on time. No pizza until after code is clean. That same night, I found myself pacing my apartment, wondering what came next. Would things go back to normal? Probably not. Would we be a real family again? I didn't know. Maybe there would always be distance. Not out of spite, just as a scar. Something that lingered even after the wound had healed. But I was okay with that. Because for the first time, they saw me for who I really was. Not the delivery guy, not the fallback plan, not the background character. And I didn't need to carry them anymore. I had already built something better. My own life, my own worth, and I wasn't going back.